Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello and welcome, everybody. I hope you are all absolutely awesome on this glorious Sunday evening. It is 6 p.m. and it is so dark outside. Clearly, the seasons have shifted. Normally, 6 p.m. it's still so bright and sunny, but it is actually quite dark outside already. I hope you are all wonderful. I hope your weekend has been absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much for joining me for Soul Service once more. Last week, I was not able to be live with you, but I am here live tonight. And next week will be a morning service. So just so that you get the times right. Good evening to everybody coming in. It's so lovely to see so many of you here. So without further ado, let's open service and let's get the show on the road, as they say in the classics. Please join me as we open in prayer, setting intention, calling in all the right energies and beings, and just getting the show on the road. So, divine source of all love and all light, we gather in your presence with open hearts and clear intentions. We call upon the ascended masters, we call upon the archangels, and we call upon our spirit guides. Please surround us with your divine love and protection. Archangel Michael, we ask for your shield of strength and power. Please wrap us in your radiant blue light, guarding our energy fields from all harm and all negativity. Archangel Raphael, who is the healer of hearts and spirits, please fill this space with your emerald green light, restoring balance and vitality to our energy centers. Ascended Masters, our wise teachers of all the ages, please guide us in aligning with our highest truth. Help us to release what does not serve our soul's journey and to embrace the light of divine wisdom. And then our spirit guides, who are our faithful companions, those who walk beside us, who hold us steady and hold us secure. Help us to remain grounded and connected to the pure energy of love and light. We now seal this space in the golden light of the divine, creating an impenetrable field of protection around us all, individually and collectively. May only the energies of the highest vibration enter the sacred space. We are safe, we are loved, and we are divinely guided. And so it is. And so it is. Our next stop on our agenda is to do some healing. And as always, please, I invite you to put into the chat any names of any body, whether they be human, whether they be animal. You can put situations in, you can send healing to the global community, whatever it is that you feel needs healing at this time. Please put names into the chat of anybody and everybody who is in need of healing. We're going to go into I just want to do that. I always forget. And we're going to go into a bit of a healing meditation, if I can call it that, where I encourage you to participate and I encourage you to get involved and I encourage you to just listen to the sound of my voice and to go along with what I'm saying as we send healing out to all the names that are being mentioned. When we talk about sending healing, what we're doing is we're using our physical beings, our physical bodies, as a conduit. So through the intention and through the prayer, we receive healing energies. It comes in through the top of our heads and then it exits out through our palms. Okay, so we send out the healing. When we send it out, even if you're sending to somebody who is not in the room with you, even if it is somebody on the other side of the planet, because we're sending energy and because energy doesn't have form, energy can travel anywhere instantly. Okay, as long as our intentions come from a good place of heart, of love, of all of those things, we are doing well. So we're going to send healing out. So I do invite you to join in the entire process. I'm going to put a background on the screen for the healing, and the reason why I do that is just so that you can really not worry about me or what's happening behind me or anything, but really just to connect to the healing energies, to engage, to participate, and to send. So get yourselves comfy, keep putting those names into the chat. I will also say that even if you're watching the replay of this, if you're not watching the live, you can still put names into the chat, or when you go through the process of sending the healing, just hold in your heart, hold in your mind, hold in your wherever, hold in the names of the people who you feel are in need of healing at this time. Okay. Right, let's get ourselves settled. So starting off, I invite you to take in a deep breath. And as you exhale this deep breath, I want you to feel yourself relaxing into this sacred space. Take another deep breath in, hold it for a brief second, and then exhale it out. Let it out, let it out, let it out. Taking in another deep breath, holding it for a brief second, and then exhaling it out. Let us come together in the spirit of love, in the spirit of compassion, and in the spirit of healing. I invite you now to bring to mind anyone, whether they be person or animal, who is in need of healing, be it on a physical, mental, emotional, or even on a spiritual level. If you feel called, you may type their names into the chat. And as we say their names, we honor their presence, we honor their journey, and we honor their healing. Beloved source of all life, we ask that the healing energies flow freely through this gathering here today. Surround us with the purest light, bathing each name that has been spoken, typed, or held silently in the heart of the divine, in love and restoration. We call upon Archangel Raphael, who is the healer of the body, the mind, and the spirit. And we ask that you wrap your emerald green light around those in need, easing pain and bringing renewal. We also call upon Archangel Michael, who is the protector of all of souls. Please use your mighty sword of light to cut through fear, doubt, and any energy that no longer serves. We also call upon Archangel Gabriel, who is the bringer of clarity and the bringer of hope. Please infuse those who are in need with the strength to see their own light and to find their way forward. And we also call upon Archangel Uriel, who is the keeper of wisdom and peace. Please shine your golden light upon the path of those in need, filling them with serenity and filling them with understanding. We also invite in our ascended masters, our divine teachers, and all loving spirits. And we ask that you surround all of these names and souls that we are bringing forward today with your compassion and with your grace. Please amplify the healing and guide them towards wholeness. I invite you now to take a moment to send the healing energies. I want you to visualize a radiant golden light emanating from your heart space, sending it from your heart down your arms and coming out your palms, sending the energy up into the world. And I want you to see this golden light emanating from you, going up into the air and merging with the light of everybody else that is sending healing at this time. There is strength in numbers, and the more we send together, the more there is to send, the more that is received. I want you to see this light expanding outward, touching each person who has been thought of, mentioned here today. Each person whose name appears in a healing list throughout the world, and everybody who is in need of healing. I want you to see this light expanding further and even reaching your own physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual self. See the entire globe, the entire world completely and utterly surrounded in this beautiful, beautiful light of healing. And together we affirm, together we say, may they be healed. May they be at peace. May they feel loved and supported. And so it is. I invite you to take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, I want you to send this light and to send this intention out into the universe. Trust that it will reach all of those who need it most right here and right now. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you for joining me and sending healing out to all the names and all the people and everybody, whether their names have been mentioned or not. It's always such a privilege to send healing out. And to me, it's a privilege I never take lightly. To me, it's something I do every single day. Every single day I send healing out to everybody. And, you know, I never ever take it for granted, and I never ever rush through it. And I never ever, you know, to me, it's always something that's done from the heart, and it's always something done with integrity. And it's always something that is just such an honor and a privilege to do. Okay. So our next stop on our list is to talk about this week's astrology. This week's astrology. All right. So I must be honest and say we've had a few kind of hectic weeks with this, with regards to astrology. This week is not so bad. You know, last week I did, the entire service was dedicated to talking about Neptune going into Aries, because it's a big thing, massive thing, and it's something that's going to affect us for a long time, 14 years. So now we're simplifying again. You know, we're coming down into just looking at the next 7 days. So what I want to talk to you about this week, remember, we're just looking at the next 7 days. And on the 12th of April, now I'm doing this live on the 6th of April, so that makes it, I think it's Friday or Saturday, we have the next full moon. So I want to talk about the next full moon. Now, I don't want to become that kind of, I'm going to call myself a YouTube astrologer that only talks about the new moons and the full moons, because they do happen once a month. There's a new moon once a month. There's a full moon once a month. So I'm not just talking about the full moon that's coming up, but what is happening is on that same day, there are two big events that are taking place. So I'm looking at the combination of the two. So we're looking at the full moon that's coming up, and it is a full moon in the sign of Libra. And we also have Venus that is going direct in the sign of Pisces. Now, I have spoken quite a bit about Venus in the past, but today we're looking at the combination. So I'm not just talking about the full moon in Libra. I am going to give you a bit of information about that. And I'm not just talking about Venus going direct in Pisces, although I will give you a little bit of information about that, but it's the combination of the two that I want to focus on. Okay. So let's unpack, or let's just very briefly talk about the full moon in Libra. So first of all, I need to say Libra is an air sign. Okay, Libra stands for balance. Libra stands for relationships, connections, togetherness, and Libra also stands for justice. Okay, so it's important that we hold those kind of keywords in our hearts, in our minds when we're thinking about Libra. So Libra is an air sign, so it's all about the stuff that happens up here. As I said, balance, connections, you know, duality between people, but then also the justice that comes into play. So a Libra full moon is one that illuminates themes of harmony, illuminates themes of partnership, and illuminates themes of fairness. So this is a time when relationship dynamics, whether those relationships be romantic, whether they be platonic, or whether they be professional, it is a time when relationship dynamics generally tend to come to a head. So if there's been something lying under the surface, if there's been any kind of challenge or any kind of difficulty during a Libra full moon, is when you could almost see this coming to light. Okay. So if something has been out of balance within a relationship, you can expect it to be absolutely highlighted during this full moon. This particular full moon is also about finding your equilibrium between your independence and your connection, between your logic and your emotion. Okay, so that is the information around the Libra full moon. So now let me give you just a little bit of insight into Venus in Pisces. So we talk about Venus going direct in Pisces. What does that mean? Well, Venus has been retrograde for quite some time, which means that she's been going backwards, although it appears that she's been going backwards. So now, come at the end of this week, suddenly she starts forward moving again. So when something is retreating, when something is going back, it's almost going back into itself. It's almost returning to where it's come from. But when it starts coming forward again, it's like things are moving. There is movement again. There is progress again. There is advancement again. So Venus in Pisces. Pisces is a water sign, okay? So Venus is all about love, it's all about creativity, about intuition, about beauty, about art, and about all of those kind of glorious things. Being in Pisces, Pisces is a water sign, okay? So Venus is the planet of love, Venus is the planet of beauty, and being retrograde, it's made relationships feel rather uncertain for quite some time. And also people have been very introspective about their relationships. People have been not necessarily questioning, but noticing and having these little thoughts about, oh, why is that happening like that? Why are they talking that way? Why are they behaving that way? Why are they saying those things? So we've all been a little bit introspective in our personal connections with others. And as Venus moves direct in the sign of Pisces, which is where Venus is exalted, that means where Venus is her strongest, okay? So Venus loves being in Pisces. Venus is so happy in Pisces. Venus thinks Pisces is fabulous. They are besties, all right? So Venus moving forward, when she was retrograde, she was a little bit debilitated. She was a little bit less important or less strong. But now as she's moving forward again, suddenly she gets all her power. She gets all her things while she is in Pisces. As soon as she moves out of Pisces, she loses her exaltation, she loses her power, but we're not going to talk about that now. Okay. So as Venus goes direct in the sign of Pisces, we can all experience a wave of emotional clarity. It's like suddenly all the fog goes. Suddenly there's clarity of understanding. Suddenly we understand what's going on. There could also be this whole thing about romantic idealism and as well as creative flow. Like suddenly if you've been struggling with something for a long time, suddenly everything's just flowing and everything's moving and everything's working and just everything comes together. This is also brings us a shift from being confused into being having understanding, okay, with regards to our connections with other people, but also with regards to yeah, our personal values, if I can put them, okay, put it that way. So our personal values. So in other words, you're going to be feeling more relevant, feeling more significant, and feeling more worthy, okay, within yourself. All right. So with these two things happening around the same time, what is the best way for you and I and for everybody to basically harness this particular energy? So the first thing I have to say is have those heart to heart conversations. All right. Those heart to heart conversations that you've been putting off for a while. Now is the time for you to actually have these conversations because remember, Libra brings diplomacy and Venus and Pisces will soften the energy a little bit, making it easier for you to express love and to express forgiveness where necessary. This is also a powerful time if you are an artist, if you are a healer, if you are a spiritual light worker, anything like that as well. Because again, Venus and Pisces is going to enhance the imagination, enhance the inspiration and the clarity that you are receiving from a higher source. Okay. It's also a time where it's a good idea to reflect on areas of life where you've been giving too much of yourself, or an area of life where you've maybe been holding back a little bit too much. Okay. The full moon is going to help you to see things clearly. Like imagine your eyes are just big like this. You're going to see things clearly. Suddenly everything is going to make sense. Things that you've been like, oh, I'm not too sure about this. I'm not too sure about that. The full moon just brings clarity to absolutely everything. The other thing that we need to be mindful of is that Venus rules attraction and Pisces helps you to dream big. So this full moon is a really good time for you to set the intentions for love, set the intentions for self-worth, as well as your financial growth, your status, your power, your who you actually are. Okay. There are a few things though that we need to be mindful of, right? There are a few things that we need to be just slightly, excuse me, cautious about because Venus and Pisces can create what we refer to as the rose-colored glasses, where it's easy to just see everything as happy and see everything as fabulous and see everything as good when maybe things are not as good and as great as they should be. So we need to make sure that we're not wearing the rose-colored glasses, because if we are, it means we're not going to see the red flags that we should see, and it is important that we stay grounded the whole time. So be honest with yourself and don't wear the rose-colored glasses. Okay. The full moon, as any full moon, can stir up deep feelings. So if tensions do come up during this time, if pressures and tensions and whatever's, just breathe. Breathe before you react, before you respond. Don't be so quick to react. You need to just slow yourself down, balance yourself out. Remember, we got Libra, balance yourself out, breathe through it, and then react and respond so that you're not causing unnecessary drama. Yeah. And the other thing that I want to say about just what we need to be cautious around with this whole thing is that the fact that Libra wants connections, okay? Libra is all about the togetherness. Libra is all about the you and the me and the let's get together and all of these kind of things. Pisces also craves merging. Pisces just wants to hug everybody and hold everybody and tell everybody it's going to be okay. So we need to make sure that we're not losing ourselves in that, because I mean, we're human beings and human beings crave togetherness, crave connection, crave unity with another person. I mean, that's just what it means to be a human. So we need to make sure that we're not giving up our independence and make sure that we're not becoming codependent on somebody during this time. So you need to watch for unhealthy patterns in your connections with other people during this week. Okay, during this week. So, as I'm sure you can see, this particular cosmic energy, it is gentle, but it is also incredibly transformative. This cosmic energy that we're going to see this week, it's going to bring clarity in relationships. It's going to bring clarity in who you are and what you stand for and what you represent. We need to use it wisely. We need to reflect, we need to release, and we need to reset, because that's what a full moon is shedding light on. Everything is big, everything is clear, everything is understandable, and we can look at ourselves honestly and truthfully, and that's what we need to be doing. And if something is not aligned in your life at the moment, let it go with grace, okay? Don't try and control and fix and make better. Like, just actually just surrender to it and allow things to just go. On the other hand, though, if something does feel right, if something does feel good in your life, lean into it with an open heart, okay? Again, trust, allow, be. So this full moon is going to shed light on something that has probably been sitting in the shadows for quite some time. And it's important that we face it, it's important that we acknowledge it, and it's important that we see it for what it is. I'm now going to give you your horoscopes for the next week. And the horoscopes have been written based on the full moon coming up and Venus going direct. So instead of me reading them out to you like I normally do, I've actually done a little video. I was a bit creative this afternoon. I've done a little video for you. So sit back and enjoy. But you have to read. So yeah. I will be sharing this video separately tomorrow sometime. So if it's too quick for you, if you can't read all your stuff, you can pause and read, or you can come back to it. Like I said, I'll be sharing it as a separate video later. But here are your horoscopes for the next week. there you have it, the astrology for the week ahead, giving you a little bit of guidance and a little bit of insight to help you navigate the ways forward. So before I carry on, I just want to put this up and just a little thank you to all my channel members. Those of you who are here in the live, you can see the conversations, people who have the little butterfly next to their name. These are those people. These are people who support me and support the work that I do. And these are the people who keep me coming back. Well, you all do, but just an extra special thank you to each one of them for their love and their support, and just for being so amazing and for being so awesome. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Right, it's time for us to move into this week's reflection. So what is a reflection? A reflection is something that we see. A reflection is something that we cast our eyes on. It's something that we look at, and it's something that gives us a pause, gives us a time to think, gives us something to ponder and something to reflect on. So typically these reflections, I allow them to be what I refer to as spirit inspired. In other words, it's generally a conversation that I have with spirit or something that I receive from spirit that I need to share with you. Now, I posted a couple of days ago on all my socials asking for questions that I would deal with and answer during this, and I received not a single question. Not one. So that tells me that it wasn't the time and it wasn't what was needed and whatever else. So I was in a bit of a panic this afternoon because I thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? What have I got to say? Because I always have things going on in my head, but you know, for this service, I like to have a little bit of planning, a little bit of structure, a little bit of something. So I sat this afternoon and I sort of said to Spirit, right, so what do we do, right? So this morning I was at one of the spiritualist churches here in Durban, and I was doing an address and I was giving messages to people in the congregation. And I think this message that I'm going to share with you is, I'm going to call it a continuation of what we had this morning, but on so much deeper level. So I'm just going to take you through it and let's see where this goes. So the heading that I've been given is Trusting the Journey, Faith in Life's Timing and in Life's Processes. So the way that this came about this afternoon is it started off with a very simple question that I received from Spirit. And the question was, have you ever felt impatient or frustrated because something that you wanted wasn't happening as quickly as you hoped or thought that it should? And I was like, all the time, all the time. And, you know, Spirit was sort of saying to me that we've all been here, there. We've all been in that situation where sometimes we feel like life is moving too slowly, and sometimes we feel as if it's just going in the wrong direction completely. And sometimes we feel a little bit discombobulated by it all. But this is the thing that Spirit was saying to me. Spirit was saying to me that life has its own timing. Okay, we can't force things, we can't hurry things up. Now, the talk I did this morning at the Center of Universal Mind was all about time and the concept of time and whether we use time right or use time wrong, etc. So this is Spirit now coming at it from a completely different point of view and saying that life has its own timing. And one thing we have to understand as well is that our journey through life isn't just about the destination. It isn't just about the, okay, we're going to die and we're going to transition and we're going to go to spirit and all's done and all's great. It's about what we learn along the way. It's about the growth that we have, and it's also about the people that we become along the journey of life. So the challenge comes through in trust, trusting that we're on the right journey, that we're having the right experiences, that we're learning the right lessons, etc. So trusting the journey is one of the hardest things that we as human beings have to learn how to do. So when we can't see the bigger picture, we immediately start doubting. Doubt creeps in, okay? We immediately start doubting. So if you imagine yourself baking a cake, you've put in all the ingredients, okay? So you've done all the things, you've put in all the ingredients, but about halfway through baking, so you've already got it in the oven and it's set now on whatever temperature for, 40 minutes or however long it takes to bake a cake. You've got it in the oven, but now you're thinking, oh, did I do it right? Did I mix enough? Did I put enough, baking powder in? Did I do all the things? And you halfway through baking, you're tempted now to open the door to look. Open the oven door to look. Now, I can remember very clearly as a little girl growing up that my granny always used to say, if you opened an oven before the time, you're ruining whatever's cooking inside it. And this is the message that I got this afternoon from Spirit, was saying that, You're tempted to keep opening the door because you want to look, is it rising? Is it doing its thing? Is it changing color? Is it? All this doubt is coming in. But by doing this, by opening the oven and looking all the time, the only thing that we are really doing, the only thing that we are really doing is risking ruining the cake. If we just let it be, if we just gave it the time that it needs, trusting that we have done everything that we needed to, it's going to be okay. And this is what Spirit was saying, is that life's journey is very similar to that. The constant interference and the constant doubt can and often does completely and utterly derail the entire process. So I want you to think of a time or when something in your life didn't go according to your plan, only for you to realize later that actually it did work out for the best for you. So when was there a time when you tried to do something and it didn't pan out and you were desperately unhappy, but actually in hindsight, when you look back, you think, oh, actually, I'm so glad it didn't work out that way. And one of the biggest examples that I can give here is about relationships. So think about a time when you've had a relationship that's completely failed, a relationship that ended, and you were so devastated and so upset and heartbroken and all of the things, only to 6 months later meet somebody new who was so much better and so much more suited to you and made you so much happier. And you're almost like, well, I'm glad that that relationship failed, because if that relationship hadn't failed, I wouldn't have met this new person. So that's an example of when things don't happen according to our plan, our goals, but that we have to trust that there is something better that's going on. Another opportunity or another example of this is when maybe you've applied for a job and you really thought you wanted the job and you were like, really, I need this and this is going to be great and I have to have it. And then it turns out that you don't get the job, and you find out later that maybe the company actually retrenched and liquidated, and a lot of people ended up losing their jobs. So had you got that job and had you moved there, you would have actually been unemployed. So again, it's the kind of things that happen. So Spirit was saying to me, it's about us humans having faith in the unknown. And having faith in the unknown is a cornerstone of trusting in the journey, isn't it? But it's the belief that even when we can't see the full picture, or even when we can't predict the outcome, that there is actually a larger plan that is unfolding, a plan that often works in our favor. Faith doesn't mean blindly accepting everything that happens to us. It means choosing to believe that life's timing and processes have purpose, even when they do challenge us. That's a big concept. So think about the many unseen forces at work in nature as an example. So when you plant a seed, you trust that it will grow into a plant, even though you can't necessarily watch the roots taking hold underneath the soil because you can't see through the soil. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. You don't know exactly how it happens. You also don't know exactly when it happens, but you trust, hope that it does, and that the process will happen and that miracles will transpire. And again, life works in very much the same way. Sometimes all we can do is to plant the seeds of our own intentions, nurture them with our actions, and trust the unseen forces to do the rest. So faith in the unknown also requires a releasing the need for control. And this, friends, is like just huge, okay? Absolutely huge. So faith in the unknown also requires us to release the need for control, because often we feel the urge to micromanage our own lives, believing that if we just work harder or if we plan more thoroughly, we can guarantee a specific outcome. But life really operates on our terms. We often get unexpected detours or delays that often feel like setbacks, but they're often necessary for our own personal growth. So faith is all about trusting that these twists and turns are part of the process, even when they don't necessarily align with our expectations at the time. What is important to remember here is that faith isn't a passive state. It's an active choice. And again, when Spirit gave me that this afternoon, I was like, wow, that is amazing. Okay. So faith isn't a passive state. It's an active choice. It requires us to surrender our fears. It requires us to surrender our doubts while continuing to inspired action. So, for example, if you've ever faced a period of uncertainty, so for example, waiting for a job offer, or healing after an emotional breakup, or navigating a health challenge, you have likely experienced moments where all you could do was hope and trust. And yet, those moments of surrender often lead to the breakthroughs, the clarity of mind, and the unexpected blessings that come our way. So, having faith in the unknown also encourages us to stay open to the possibilities that we hadn't yet considered. So sometimes we become so fixated on one desired outcome that we close ourselves off to all other opportunities. Faith reminds us to remain flexible and to trust that life may deliver something even better than we had even imagined. So ultimately, faith in the unknown is about embracing the mystery that is life. It is about recognizing that we don't have to have all of the answers in order to move forward. Just as the night sky doesn't reveal every star at once, our journey unfolds one step at a time, and with each step illuminated when we are ready to take it. So I want to just unpack this whole thing about releasing the need for control a little bit. So, releasing the need for control is a practice that challenges us very, very deeply because as humans, we are wired to seek stability and to seek certainty. We often equate control with security. We've been conditioned and programmed into believing that control equals stability, and we want stability. We desire stability all the time. Okay, so we are wired to seek stability and certainty, and we equate control with security. We believe that if we can just manage every single detail, that we can avoid failure, that we can avoid discomfort, or we could avoid disappointment. This is how we believe. This is what we've been conditioned into believing. But the truth is that life is inherently unpredictable, if you didn't already know that. So life is inherently unpredictable, and the need for control often creates more stress than it actually gives peace. So why do we, as human beings, why do we crave control so much? So control gives us the illusion of predictability. It's a way of coping with fear. And when we talk about fear, we talk about fear of the unknown. We talk about fear of failure. We talk about fear of loss, which are huge fears that you and I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Even if you think you don't, you absolutely do. So by trying to control outcomes, by trying to control people, or by trying to control situations, we believe that we can protect ourselves from any uncertainties that may come up. So this desire for control often becomes a source of anxiety. When things don't go as planned, it leaves us feeling powerless and it leaves us feeling incredibly frustrated. So for example, consider how you would feel if you planned a day meticulously, excuse me, meticulously, only for unexpected delays or unexpected disruptions to throw everything off course. The more tightly you cling onto your plans, the more you suffer when they do fall apart. So this is where faith in the unknown becomes a transformative tool. So letting go of control allows us to focus on what we absolutely can influence: our actions, our mindset, and our attitude. So instead of worrying about the outcome, we concentrate on doing our best in the present moment, which is far less stressful than trying to micromanage every detail of your life, every day. When we stop forcing situations to conform to our expectations, we often discover opportunities that we couldn't have imagined before. So again, using the example of losing a job, it might initially feel like an absolute failure. It could also lead to a new career path that aligns more closely with your true purpose. But if you hadn't lost your job, you wouldn't have gone on this other journey of exploration, of looking, of experiencing. So sometimes that break, that collapse of your world actually opens up opportunities that you wouldn't have had any other way. Okay. So the need to control can also strain your personal relationships, especially when we try to control how others behave. Now, this is a huge thing. So we cannot control other people. We can't, and we shouldn't even try. But when we do try to control how other people behave or how other people respond to us, it causes just untold issues for you, not for them, for you. Okay. So releasing control of how other people behave or how other people react to you, releasing that control fosters healthier dynamics, allowing others to show up as they are rather than as we want them to be. That's a huge, huge, huge one. Okay. So life's challenges often strengthen us in ways that we could not ever anticipate. When we release control, we learn to adapt and we learn to grow rather than just resisting and struggling. So, this resilience becomes a powerful asset in navigating life's ups and downs. It actually makes you a better person, stronger person, when you let go of that need to control. So, it's almost like you become stronger when you release, when you let go. It's interesting. Okay. So, I'm going to give you a couple of pointers, if I can call it that, on how to begin releasing control. Because when you now become mindful of how you are trying to micromanage your life and the life of your partner, your children, your neighbors, the people you live with, whatever it might be, when you realize how much you are trying to control them. And I understand that a lot of the times when we try and control others, we have their best interests at heart. We do. It's not control out of manipulation or control out of dominance or control out of narcissism or anything like that. It's actually because, like, I think about how a mom is with her children, just as an example. She wants to control them because she wants to protect them and she wants to help them become the best versions of themselves that they can be. But that's all from her perception, from her mindset. When we begin to release that control, we allow people to be their true selves, to allow people to truly be who they are. Suddenly that relationship dynamic shifts in a huge way, and suddenly as the parent, you're allowing your child to really become who they are instead of the version of themselves that you think is right for them. So how do we begin to release this control? The first thing is you start by distinguishing between the things that you can influence and the things that you can't influence. That's again huge. All right. So for instance, you can't control the weather. Like, as much as we would like to, we can't control what's happening out there. Okay. We cannot control the weather, but we can decide how we are going to prepare for it. So if you look outside and you see these thunderclouds, you're not going to go outside in your costume and expect to go swimming and to catch a suntan, because it's not going to happen. So we cannot control the weather, but we can control how we respond to that. Okay. So focusing on what is within your power will help you to conserve your energy, and it will reduce your frustration hugely. Acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean that you have to like or agree with every situation that is happening around you. It means that you acknowledge reality as it is. So when you are faced with a challenge, take a moment to just breathe. Breathing is so important, like not just to keep you alive, but to stop you from reacting when you shouldn't be reacting. So when you are faced with a challenge, take a moment and just breathe. And I'll always put my hand on my heart when I do that. I always put, like, just to ground myself, just to connect with myself, just to center myself. So take a moment and breathe and say to yourself, this is what's happening right now. And acceptance will help you to move forward rather than getting stuck in that resistance. So if you just acknowledge, okay, this is the reality, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what's going on. It's raining. I can't change it. I can't stop the rain. I can't do anything. So let me just accept the rain. Let me just acknowledge the rain and then see how I can work with it as opposed to trying to control it. Okay. Spirit also said that we need to start with small, small acts of surrender. So for example, instead of overthinking an email or a text that you received or that you need to send out or anything like that, send it without obsessing over how it's going to be received. So if you need to send a message to somebody, we can often read it to ourselves, 300 times, think, oh, but are they going to read it this way? Or are they going to misinterpret it? Are they going to think bad of me? Are they going to? No. Spirit is saying send it without obsessing about how it will be received. Over time, these small moments of trust will build into a habit of you letting go, because sometimes we have to say the things that we have to say. We cannot control how somebody reacts to what we say. It doesn't mean that you're free to speak badly and to, accuse people or to be aggressive in your communication. But if you're being kind and if you're being gentle, but if you're being honest with your words, if it's received negatively, is that an impact, or is that a reflection on you, or is that a reflection on them? You have no control over how other people respond. You have control over how you communicate, how you put the message out there and what you do, but you don't have control over how they receive it or how they interpret it. Okay. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? And, again, I consult with people every day, all day, it's my full-time job. And this is the question I get so many times from my clients. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I ever catch a break? Why don't things ever just work out for me? And I hear this over and over and over again. And asking that question is the problem. Asking that question, why is this happening to me? There's no responsibility in that question. There's no accountability in that question. When we ask, why is this happening to me? We're in victim mode. We're trying to control. We're trying to hold on to things that we should be letting go of, and it's clearly not working. So we need to shift that question around. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? We need to ask rather, what can I learn from this? How might this be helping me? What positive can I take from this, instead of just feeling sorry for yourself and saying, why is this happening to me the whole time? Okay. So shifting the narrative, shifting the question, shifting the way that you look at the challenges that you have in life will help you to see the challenges as part of your growth instead of just an obstacle that you need to control. Okay. Because let's be honest, stuff happens. Sometimes things won't go badly. Sometimes relationships fail. Sometimes careers fall apart. Things happen, but it's how you react to it that matters. It's how you react to it that determines whether you are successful or not. Okay, so the other thing that we need to be mindful of is this thing called uncertainty. So uncertainty is where creativity and possibility live. Okay, creativity and possibility, they live in uncertainty. When you release control, you create space for life to surprise you. So think of it as clearing the clutter from a room. You make room for something new to enter. So if you've got a cupboard that's full, well, let's talk about my shelves. They are full. Yes, I could rearrange to make more space, but if I don't every now and again let go of some of the stuff, there isn't any space for new. Okay, because this is my limit, this is my restriction. So uncertainty is where creativity and possibility live. When you release control, you create space for life to surprise you with new opportunities and for new things to come through. So life's journey isn't always easy to trust. Like, I get that. I really and truly do. As somebody who has experienced all of it. But the beauty is in the unpredictability, and we've got to learn to see that. We've got to learn to be okay with that. We've got to learn to be open to the unpredictability of what life is offering us. We also need to learn to trust that we are exactly where we need to be at the exact time we need to be there. Even if the road feels bumpy, even if the road feels quite uncertain, every twist and turn, every bump, every obstacle that you experience is shaping you into the person you are meant to become. Sometimes the twists and the turns and the bumps in the road put us in a place of challenge, of difficulty, of hardship, so that we can make the changes that we need to make. Releasing the need for control is not about giving up. Okay, don't ever think that. Don't ever think that. Releasing the need for control is not about giving up. It's about making space for faith and trust to guide you further on the journey. It's about stepping into the flow of life, and it's about allowing the unknown to reveal its gifts. When we let go of control, we don't lose power, but we do gain freedom. I'm going to say that again. When we let go of control, we don't lose power, but we gain freedom. Freedom to live, freedom to grow, and freedom to experience life as it's meant to unfold for us. So that whole message, it started off in one place, and it sort of went in a loop and a whatever, and it ended up in somewhere completely different. When I read that back to myself today, I was like, oh, so we started off talking about this, and then through, again, what did I do? I trusted the process. I trusted the unfolding. And I think the message that's come through, all of the messages that have come through in there, I think is just actually quite mind-blowing. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it's given you a little bit of food for thought. I hope it's given you a little bit of just looking at your own life, looking at how you are reacting and responding to your own life. And going forward, as we go into this new week, if a challenge comes up, if a block in the road comes up, if an obstacle comes up for you, instead of getting into that need to hold control, that hopefully you're going to go, all right, let me see where this leads me. Let me see where this takes me. I'm open to opportunities. I'm open to situations unfolding in whatever way they need to. Okay. Yes. As Pat says, lots of food for action there. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I want to do now, we're still talking, or we're still in that mindset. Okay. I have always some cards on my table, and I have this deck. It is Ask Your Guides by Sonia, and I'm gonna draw us a card. This is now not for one person, this is for everybody, around this whole concept now of just trusting in the flow of life and letting go of control, finding faith, that knowing that everything's going to work out, even if there are challenges and problems along the way. And I just want a card just to finish off the conversation, just to have better understanding. So let's just give the cards a shuffle. I did shuffle before service, but I want to just draw a single card from here before we close off the reflection and move on to the end of the service. Right, so let's pick a card at random. Oh, look at that. You see, what do I always say? I can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. So we have the card of forgiveness. Now, if we look at what's going on here, so we have this person sitting, and they have a person in each ear, okay? They have a person in each ear, and then they also have an angel standing behind them. But each person is sending healing. Can you see that? So this is more, and I mean, I know it says at the bottom here, healer guides, but this is more about understanding that forgiveness leads to healing. So again, when we don't forgive a person, a situation, or a circumstance from our past. So if something has happened to you in the past and you're carrying around that hurt, you're carrying around that pain, that disappointment, that whatever the emotion is, if you're carrying that emotion around, basically what you're doing is you're keeping that situation from the past active in your life. You're keeping that situation, you're keeping yourself in that pain. You're keeping yourself in that tragedy. You're keeping yourself in that hurt. But when we practice forgiveness, we're not saying that what that person did or what that situation did to you, we're not saying that it's okay. We're not saying that we condone the behavior or we accept the behavior, but what we're saying is we release ourselves from that situation. And I think, again, our need to control is possibly more a case of needing to forgive, needing to let go, needing to not hold on so tightly to everything that's going on in our lives. So I think that is just such a beautiful message to finish off our reflection. So think about it. When you're finding yourself frustrated, when you find yourself irritated at things going wrong and not working out for yourself, what do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive? What does forgiveness look like? How do you work forgiveness into this letting go of control and having faith and trust that the universe is giving you the situations that you need in this time? All right, in this time. And friends, that brings us to the last portion of our service, which is the closing. So I'm going to say thank you for being with me. Thank you for your love and support. Thank you as always. And join me as we just give gratitude for what we have just received, give gratitude for all that we've learned as we move forward in the new week. So friends, let us come together now in gratitude. Let's reflect on the insights and the experiences that we have shared here today. Divine Spirit, source of light and truth, we thank you for guiding us through this time of reflection and through this time of connection. In this sacred space, we have explored the depths of our own values and the essences of who we truly are. May we carry forward the wisdom to recognize the values that define us, those principles that bring meaning, joy, and authenticity to our lives. Help us to honor these values in our thoughts, our words, and our actions, even when the world around us pulls us in so many different directions. Please grant us the courage to stand firm in our truth, the compassion to respect the values of others, and the clarity to discern when we are living in alignment with our hearts. And as we leave this gathering here tonight, may we feel strengthened by the light within us, knowing that our values are a compass, guiding us towards a life of fulfillment and a life of peace. Let the healing energy that we have shared continue to flow, touching all those in need and nurturing the harmony that we seek within ourselves and within the world around us. We close with a deep breath, inhaling hope and exhaling gratitude. May we move forward with open hearts, with steady minds, and unwavering faith in the power of living authentically. And so it is. And so it is. So friends, thank you for being with me, sending you all much love and many blessings. And I look forward to connecting with you all again Sunday morning next week. Much love. Take care. Good night.